of God's love is real.
You can count on God to be here for us.
Let your hearts rejoice and your voices shout praise to God.
For God is great and worthy to be praised.
Amen. Please join me in the prayer of confession. Lord God,
forgive us for the many times in which we have strayed from your pathway of life, when we have chosen not to hear the cries of those in need, when we have belittled the gifts and skills you have given us in order to avoid serving others. Heal us, O Lord. Place us back on your path to Jerusalem. For we ask this in Jesus' name. Amen.
when God called your name, God called you to a journey of faith. Do not be afraid to look inside to see those things which are holding you back from being who God created you to be. Place your trust in God, who is always faithful, loving you into wholeness. Amen. Our reading comes from the 13th chapter of Luke. The gospel writer writes this: at that very hour, it's the same text he has, some Pharisees came and said to Jesus, "Get away from here, for Herod wants to kill you." And Jesus said to them, "Go and tell that fox for me. Listen, I'm casting out demons and performing cures today and tomorrow, and on the third day I finish my work. Yet today, tomorrow, and the next day I must be on my way, because it is impossible for a prophet to be killed outside of Jerusalem. Jerusalem, Jerusalem, the city that kills the prophets and stones those who are sent to it. How often I've desired to gather your children together as a hen gathers her brood under her wings, and you were not willing. See, your house is left to you, and I tell you, you will not see me until the time comes when you say, 'Blessed is the one who comes in the name of the Lord.'" text tells us that the people of Jerusalem do not have very good relationships with prophets, right? They seek to stone them and kill them and kick them out of the city. These prophets who have come to speak hard truths to the people. That's what prophets do. This is what Jesus is referencing in our gospel lesson today. He has looked at the history of Jerusalem and all the prophets who have come to it, from Zechariah to Malachi, all these Old Testament prophets that we have, which we find in our Bible, and how the people of Jerusalem really didn't want to hear anything that they had to say. And part of me thinks, who can blame them? Who can blame them? I mean, prophets of any age, call us to change our ways. And I don't know, if you're anything like me, I'm kind of set in my ways. Those are hard words to hear, to change, to listen to some different kind of news. Prophets, what they really do is they hold up a mirror. They hold up a mirror to make us look at ourselves more closely. And this is something that we often don't want to do. Like, you're in a hotel and they have these mirrors that are like magnifying mirrors, and you catch yourself in it and you're like, oh my gosh. It's kind of like these days. You're like, oh, I do have nose hair. I gotta do something about that. In ancient Jerusalem, these prophets would show up and they would remind the people again and again to take care of people. That was their main message. Look out for the poor, the widow, the orphan. In other words, the people who are most vulnerable. They would also ask these prophets, are we being too violent? Are we living good lives? Are we building God's kingdom? Are we worshiping God, or are we worshiping someone or something else? And then Jesus comes along. Jesus came along as a prophet in his own right to proclaim the good news of the kingdom of God and to remind people that it was still their job to take care of the most vulnerable people, the sick, the outcast, the sinner. Not much had changed from his ancient prophets to the time of Jesus. And Jesus just longed. He longed for these people to finally hear the words of the prophet, to gather under his protective wings. But did they listen? Did the people act like the people of old? Did they care? That's our question. Did they care? Our theme for Lent, we're asking ourselves each week, what should we give up and what should we take up? Last week we talked about giving up those things that we are fearful of. We heard the story of Jesus in the desert with the devil, and how Jesus got out of that situation. He gave up being afraid. These things that the devil was saying Jesus should be afraid of, Jesus gave those up and instead took up trust. Well, we're going to give up something and take up something here tonight based on the scripture that we heard. And in order to care about the words of the prophets, the charge that Jesus is giving us tonight, we need to give up something else, something other than fear, but instead indifference. Indifference to the words of the prophets who ask us, who plead for us time and time again throughout history to care. To care for the needs of the world. And in order to do that, we need to take up something really special. We need to take up acceptance. Accepting the words of the prophets as something that we really need to hear. And so we're going to think about this concept of give up and take up as a group here tonight. I want to hear from you guys. What are some things in this world that we no longer can ignore? Those causes or things in this world that we can't be indifferent towards any longer. Who are those people or voices or these callings of God that we should hear with open ears and renewed eyes? What can we no longer be indifferent towards? What do you think? What in your life do you see happen and you think, do something about that. Yeah, type it. What's that? Pollution. Oh my gosh. Yeah. Pollution for sure. Yeah. Water shortage. Yeah. Stuff like pollution and water shortage, they end up affecting the people, some of the people who are the poorest in the world suffer the most from, where's our trash go? But often these church notes where people who are, who have less than us are affected by that. Yeah. Poverty. Yeah. Say more about that. What do you mean, Connor?
A lot of people, I heard on the fact that over $1 billion people live on less than $1 a day.
Yeah. The funny thing is, Connor, I've heard that too. We're hearing the same prophet's voice. Maybe we should do something. We'll talk about that later. Maybe we can do something. Yeah, Todd. Abuse. Yeah. Violence perpetrated on other people for many numbers of reasons. Yeah. These are concerns of the world. We need to give up being indifferent towards that. I mean, every day of the year we should do that, but especially this time of Lent where we focus in on the core values of being Christian, what that means to live it out in the world. And I think the best way to do that here tonight is to give up being indifferent and to accept the words of the prophets. That's what Jesus tells us to do. Those are the words that we need to hear more than ever these days.
For
It's time for our prayers where we offer ourselves